Okay, here's a construction update. So I went down to the plastic store to pursue my idea of putting plastic on a solid sheet of plastic on the top of this instead of a split sheet of plywood, in hopes of avoiding leaks, etc. And what I found to my shock was that a piece of plastic, even an 1/8 of an inch piece of plastic, costs about 3 or 4 times what a sheet of plywood costs. And then the other thing that I found out that's not working for me is that you can only buy them in 4x8 sheets, just like plywood. So my problem with that is this is 8x6. So if I went and bought the plastic and paid 4 times as much for it, I would still have a seam running across the roof, which I would then have to figure out a way to waterproof. The other thing is that my intent was to buy it so that it actually stuck 1 inch out over the edge all the way around the roof, thereby keeping the water from running to the edge of the roof, hitting the edge of the walls, and running down the tarping on the inside, where it would get the tarping wet and make the whole inside of it wet, which would have a cooling effect and make it less weatherproof. So I'm like, wait a minute, I have 2 sheets of plywood with a seam. Why am I going to replace them with 2 sheets of plastic with a seam? The point was to get something with no seam on it. And the other piece is, since they only sell them as 4x8, I can't get them big enough to stick out over the edges. So it's going to be flush with the edge like this. Now, the only reason this never leaked before the animal ripped a hole in the tarp that was covering it, the only reason it never leaked down the inside of the cage is because I wrapped the outside walls of the cage with tarp first, and then when I put the tarp over the top of this, I stapled it down over the top edge of that, like a shingle, so that it flowed off the edge of the roof, down and over the outside of the tarps on the walls. So if I got the plastic to fit exactly on this, then I just have to cover it with plastic anyway, with a plastic tarp anyway, to keep it from dribbling down the insides of the walls, because it wouldn't have any lip or overhang over the edge. So I abandoned the whole plastic idea. The only reason my plan didn't work is because I had an animal that would climb up and sit on the back corner of this thing. I'm pretty sure it was a domestic cat, because it would then use it as a scratching post and rip up the plastic, which would then get rain inside of it, warp the boards and everything. So I flipped the boards over and screwed them down so they're not, noticeably warped. I bought some caulking, and I'm going to caulk the seam in the middle as best I can. And I'm going to look at 2 things. One, a thicker sheet of plastic for the roof, so that it doesn't dribble. So that it's not as easy to tear. And also, just putting cat repellent up there. I'm pretty sure I can buy cat repellent. If I can't, I can repel it in other ways. What I did at the end of the year last year, finally, was put some rat traps up on the roof where I knew it liked to sit, so that when it jumped up there, it would pop them and scare the hoots out of itself. And I put them up there one day, went the next day, and they had fallen off the roof and down on the ground, and they were all popped because whatever it was jumped onto them, and then found out they snap. And I put them back up, and the next day they were all popped again, and then I put them back up again, and the third day they remained, and they stayed there until I took them down. So it's not too hard to discourage this beast, whatever it is. So I'm just going to do that, because there's no point in spending all the extra money for something that doesn't work with the design that I had planned, because the material doesn't come in the right size. So I have flipped the tops, and this is ready to put back up. As you can see, I took the shelves out. The tarp's down here for me to lay on, while I crawled around underneath the shelves. So I took the shelves out. I have so many freaking earwigs in here. It's terrible. And although I've decided I won't use diatomaceous earth inside my nest boxes because A, my birds don't have mites, and B, I seriously doubt that anything that is such a fine powder that it will smother a bug by getting into its pores will do pretty much the same thing to a baby bird. So, but I think I am going to put diatomaceous earth on the bottom of this cage because I have such an invasion of earwigs that literally anytime I pick something up, 20 of them fall out. It's disgusting. So, my next move is going to be to start mounting the racks that I'm going to mount the cages on all around the edges. Starting with, I don't have enough downward supports on the back wall, so I have to add something. I can't attach the board to the end because it's attached to this, so I'm going to have to put an extra board here, and I'm thinking of maybe putting one down the center to help support the boards that will hold up the racks of cages. I may not need to work that hard at it though, so we'll see. But that's going to be my next move. Diatomaceous earth because I'm tired of earwigs on the floor, not where the birds are going to be in contact with it. Because if human babies can't have talcum powder, I don't see bird babies having diatomaceous earth. Same, different stuff, same problem. So yeah, my next move is to start making the racks to hang the cages on. Very exciting.